Present record. Okay, let me confirm she's here. So that I can give her.
I'm here.
I can. Okay, awesome. I can see my bosses here already, like the big people in the data space. I can see all. Now we now have the chief, Damola, one of the baddest data girl that I know. Like I said, this is one of the sessions I myself have been looking forward to. She has so much to share, and I hope that we all can pick one or two from her. So she'll be teaching us or showing us how Kuda is building a data-driven culture, so that we all can go back to our different organizations and implement that, right? So this session is going to stop, let me see, so that we can plan our time very well. That will be 11:50, right? But we'll make it 12 so that we have avenue for questions, because I know a lot of people from past sections have been saying, they want to ask questions, and I've been directing them to this session. So, Damla, over to you, please. Do what you do best.
Yeah. I hope everyone can see and hear me.
Yeah, we can.
Alrighty. Thank you for the introduction. I like being called the baddest data girl. It's very interesting. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, if you can see my screen, can you just please give me a thumbs up? Alrighty. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. Like Ayode said, I have a lot to share today. I'm going to try to make it as concise as possible. But yeah, I'm just hoping that everyone can learn a thing or two from today's session. So I'm going to be talking about building a data-driven culture, using the organization I currently work as an example. I currently work at Kuda. Kuda is a digital bank located in Lagos, Nigeria. And at Kuda we have what we refer to as a native data team. What that basically means is that we have almost every data function, every key data function in the team, right? We have people that sit in all these different very important data roles. And so like we try to guide the business towards making data informed decisions, not just making decisions of the whim, but making data informed decisions. So today I will be using my company, Kuda, as an example, and basically just walking us through how at Kuda the business intelligence team fosters a culture of data informed decision making. Yeah, like I mentioned, my team is a native data team, but I will be spotlighting the business intelligence team, because if you're aware, the business intelligence team is in a data team is on the closest side to the business, to C-suite executives, to business analysts, and just like business users that want to interact with data and want to make sense of data, basically. So yeah, today we're just going to be, looking at how at Kuda we try to use our data to enhance our customer experiences and advance financial inclusion. So I'll be doing this by, touching on effective strategies and best practices that people here can, take away and take away and use in your daily lives. The comments are very funny this morning. Okay. So let's begin. Okay, I'm just going to introduce myself again. My name is Adidamala Nobanjo. I work as a business intelligence manager at Kuda. What my job basically entails is managing a team of BI engineers. Hi, Shalaboni. My job entails managing a team of BI engineers and BI analysts that are responsible for providing the business with like the necessary data models they need and necessary data visualizations that they need to make informed, like data informed decisions. Okay, so today's agenda, I'm going to, because of the time we have, I'm going to try, like I mentioned before, I'm going to try to be as concise as possible, but I'll try to touch on like the key things that you can take away from today's session um to basically inform your own like direction towards building, managing, or working in a data team. So we're going to be looking at what a data-driven culture is. We're going to be looking at pillars of Kuda's data-driven culture. We're going to be looking at democratizing data access, building trust in data, communicating data effectively, and measuring impact, which is a way to know if, as a data professional, by yourself or along with your team members, you're able to actually impact your business. Hi, Nathaniel. Okay. So I let's try to start this informally. Data First Africa is about everyone coming together, like data community coming together to learn about different data techniques, different data mechanisms, different data everywhere. And we have a lot of data enthusiasts in the world today. We have data professionals, people that are doing big things. We have data companies, data consultancy companies. We have companies like Kuda also, that are trying to like push their strategies and push their vision using data. But I think that something that gets lost is how to get companies that we work in, or companies that we look up to actually use this data that they collect, that they store, that they rave about, right? So you're not just creating models, you're not just building fancy dashboards, you're not just training LLMs and doing a lot of fancy things, but like you're able to get people to buy into the data that you're working on, data that you've analyzed, right? Data that you visualize, or the data story that you're telling. You need to be able to get people to buy into this data. And then when they buy into this data, you need to make sure that it's actually being used, right? You need to make sure that it's actually being used by the people that you're analyzing the data for, and not just a thing of, oh, they sit at their desks and they're looking at your dashboards, but they sit at their desks, they're looking at your dashboards, and then they take away the information, they take away the insights that they've gotten from your dashboard, and they're using it to actually push the business or push their vision forward. That's the most important thing, because at the end of the day, you can create like a nice visualization. You can train like your model in like the coolest of ways, but it's not being used. Then what's the point? If it's not being used, what is the point, right? So I just want to try to get us familiar with how to get our companies, how to get our downstream users to buy into the data that's is being analyzed in the back end. Again, using Kuda, spotlighting Kuda in this session. So yeah, Kuda, if you don't know, Kuda is in the fintech industry, the financial technology industry, and fintechs, big banks, or companies that work as payment gateways, we collect and we process a lot of data, millions and millions of data daily, right? So at this point, when you acquire like a large customer base, or even if if your customer base is very small, it doesn't really matter. But at this point, data is no longer just an asset to us, right? We don't just collect data and process it. It's basically the foundation of our business. It's key to our survival as a business, right? And the imperative is basically that we thrive on this data. We thrive on this data. That's it. It helps us to understand our customers. It helps us to personalize experiences, both internally and externally, and it helps us to make strategic decisions. Basically, it's essential for staying ahead, like in this rapidly evolving markets, right? Every other month, quarter, year, there's like a new fintech. There's a new fintech coming or a new digital bank coming up, right? So we have like lots of fintech companies coming up. To be able to be like a competitor, a strong competitor, you have to be able to use your data to basically like push your initiatives, to push your strategies. And so yeah, at Kuda, we built our foundation of data from day one. We've actually invested in the tools, the technologies, and the people to create a truly data-driven organization. And I'm not just saying it because I work here. Those that know me or those that speak to me know how much I always rave about like my team, right? I feel like I have the best team, or I'm working in the best team ever. And that's because we're a team that understands like the importance of data and how to basically pull it and push it in a way that is of value to the people that we're working for. So yeah, like I said earlier, we're just going to be exploring like the key pillars of data-driven culture, learning how to democratize access, and then building trust, and also like effective data communication strategies, right? And lastly, how to measure the impact of what you're doing as a data professional. So what's the data-driven culture? A data-driven culture is more than just having data, right? It's about weaving it into the very fabric of the organization, making sure that every person, no matter how administrative their role is, depends on data, right? And I say administrative because people tend to think that those that, or the downstream users, the end users of data, have to be a bit technical, or they have to have some understanding or actual need for like the data that they're requesting or the data that they're viewing. But to be honest, that's not the case, because you want to get to a point where people are able to, first of all, use like the tools that are needed, even like the most basic of tools that are needed to, analyze data, to cut and slice through the data, and just be able to interact with like your data estate in your company. So yeah, it's about creating an environment where the data is valued, it is recognized as a strategic asset, not just a byproduct of operations, which I think is the norm these days. But we want to get to a point where business leaders, or even team leaders in organizations, admins in organizations, know that, okay, before I do this thing, before I decide to submit, for example, a procurement officer, right? Before you decide to submit like a PO, a purchase order, to your HR or finance team, like you've gone and you've done your research and you're presenting like your purchase order, you're coming with maybe like a list of vendors, showcasing those that have offered you prices that might be good for your organization or might be too expensive for you. Basically, like knowing that this is very, very important and using it in your daily life. So yeah, you want it to be a strategic asset from the lowest staff to the highest staff. They should understand the importance of data. You want it to also be accessible, right? That's how you build a data-driven culture. Employees at all levels have access to the data that they need to do their jobs effectively. I'll say that maybe at the onset of my career, I would hold on to like the data that I had in my possession, like I used to hold it very close to my chest, because data governance, data security, of course, you don't want to give people access to what they shouldn't have access to. But these days, I am leaning towards, okay, if they need, even if they need this thing, right, they should have at least an idea of how it works. If they've not gotten the approval to, access yet, but, for example, like a customer experience associate that shouldn't have access to certain databases, at least they should understand, right? Okay, how is this data collected? How are we able to analyze it? What can it do for us, right? What can we use this data to do? And I feel like this kind of thing will like spur people into wanting to hold on to like data, wanting it or treating it as an asset, for lack of a better description. Data-driven culture, is a culture where data is trusted, right? Data quality is paramount. Like I feel like that's the most important thing. I don't know, maybe I'm biased because I work in a bank, and so like if I give anybody wrong information, then yeah, that's going to be very bad. But data quality is paramount, and there is confidence in like the insights that derive from the data. Then you also want to get to a point where decisions are data informed, right? Data is used to guide decisions at every level, from strategic planning to daily operations. So you want to get to a point where your customer service team is using your reports to investigate customer claims. You also want to get to a point where before a product is built or before a feature is built, then your product owners, your product leaders have gone to check like the performance of maybe similar products, or they already understand like customer behavior, right? Your customer base is well segmented in a way that, okay, they know that if we release this product, then this segment of customers are likely to buy in, or this segment of customers are not likely to buy in, or maybe it's not a good time in the year for us to release like a certain product, right? So things like that, and then continuous improvements, right? Data is used to track progress, identify areas for improvements, and drive innovation. So you're not just sitting on past data, but you're also using it to predict outcomes, to make other decisions, right? So yeah, that's basically what the data-driven culture is, weaving it into the very fabric of the organization. That's very key. Okay. So we're going to sorry. Please, can you confirm that I'm on the right screen?
I think we have not seen this. Okay, yeah, so that should be the next one. Yeah.
Okay, that's the next one. All right. So at Kuda, our data-driven culture, rests on three fundamental pillars, right? The first one being leadership buying, the second one being data literacy, and the third one being data accessibility, right? Leadership buying, I would say, is the most important, right? Because at the end of the day, it's your executives, it's your leadership teams that will, not only pay for your data tools and pay for like all your resources, but they will also help you to champion data initiatives, right? So at Kuda, I think that's one thing that we have. We have a range of executives that help us to champion our data initiatives and demonstrate a commitment to data informed decision making. So you have team leads, you have managers that have created like a culture where those that report to them are very much data inclined, right? They also actively participate in data discussions. They use data to track progress and encourage data literacy across the organization. Then, of course, if your leaders like are doing something, then you're inclined to follow, right? So this top-down approach kind of sets the tone. for the entire company and reinforces the importance of data. So like I said, you have to get your leadership buy-in. If you're going to go to conferences, and listen to people whose data culture or whose data teams are working for them, and then you have to make videos of those things so that you can go back and show your bosses, then do that. Like if that's the way you're going to get your leadership to buy-in, then do that, right? If you know that, okay, I'm working for a company that hasn't made enough money yet or is not able to afford certain things, then go and explore other options that you can use to ensure that data is being used in your company, right? The second pillar is data literacy. So we invest in, someone is saying they can't hear. If you can hear, okay. You might have to check your internet. Okay, thank you. So data literacy, right? You've gotten your leadership to buy in, but then the people that you work with don't understand. Maybe they don't understand how to use the tools that you use, or they don't know how to make sense of the data. What then is the point of having it, right? So at Kuda, we invest in training programs and personalized workshops to empower our employees with skills and knowledge to understand and interpret data. Recently, we had to organize like a training program just to reintroduce general operations team to one of the tools that we use for reporting. And for me, it's not only getting them to use the data, but it's also making sure that I have peace of mind, because after that session, we're able to optimize the performance of our reports of some of the tools that we use for reporting. And so just getting them to understand how to use the tools, how to make sense of the data that they're seeing and what to do with it is important, right? We encourage data sharing and collaboration, basically creating a culture where everyone feels comfortable asking questions and exploring data, right? You might be scared to ask for data that you shouldn't have access to. Like I said, we work in a bank, so not everyone should have access to certain things. And we've tried to instill that culture where people don't just come and say, "Oh, I want access to this," but at the end of the day, they can, okay, I want to understand what goes on in this data layer, or I want to understand, how this data is collected. Yes, we're open to sharing things like that. And doing all of this fosters a sense of ownership and empowers employees to make data-driven decisions in their respective roles. The last pillar is data accessibility. We use user-friendly tools and platforms that make data accessible to everyone, regardless of their technical expertise. We use data visualization tools to present complex data in a clear and understandable way. And then we have a growing data governance framework that ensures data quality, security, and privacy while promoting accessibility, right? So, like I said, people should be able to access the data that you're analyzing, and in accessing it, you don't want to make it complicated for them. You can have very technical users, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that even those that are not technical, like I said, down to the lowest of or most administrative roles, you have to make sure that they understand the data, and in doing that, you have to present it in a way that they actually do, right? So I know that we all love a good Tableau dashboard. We all love, a fancy Power BI dashboard. But at the end of the day, if someone opens your dashboard and they're just looking, or they don't know how to, get like a filter icon, or they don't know what's like your chart is doing, maybe you're using like a fancy box plot, then what then is the point of analyzing and presenting this data to your stakeholders? Okay, the next one. Okay, so now we move on to democratizing data access, right? like I mentioned before, we believe at Kuda that everyone should have the power of data at their fingertips, no matter what you do. Even if you don't have access to, single level data, you should at least understand what is going on in the back end. And to do this, we've taken a multifaceted approach to democratize data access across the organization. And this approach includes, it's not limited to these things, but includes using user-friendly tools. So we leverage intuitive business intelligence platforms and data visualization tools like Mixpanel, like Kuda Studio, right? These tools allow employees to explore data, to create reports, and to build dashboards without needing advanced technical skills. We provide training and support to ensure everyone can use these tools effectively. So, you're not just given access to certain things, but you're also made to understand how they work. And these tools are actually like very, very user friendly. I'm not saying that that's because I work with them, but if anyone can testify to something like Luca and Luca Studio, you know that they are very user friendly tools, right? Another way or another approach is through data governance and security, right? So we've implemented yes, there is a difference between Luca and Luca Studio. We've implemented a data governance framework to ensure data quality, accuracy, and security, right? So this includes clear data definitions and clear validation processes and access controls, right? So we strike a balance between, okay, something just went on with my electricity, but I'll be back soon. So we try to strike a balance between making data accessible and then protecting sensitive information, right? So like I said, it's a bank, and even if it's not a bank, right, you are not, at the end of the day, you're not the owner of the data that you're in possession of. Data is owned by your customers, right? So you need to be able to protect sensitive information and then draw boundaries, right? That's basically what data governance and security is about, drawing boundaries. And then lastly, self-service analytics. We try to empower employees to perform their own analysis and answer their own data-related questions. We provide access to curated data sets and we encourage data exploration. Looker as a tool has something called explores, right? So users are allowed to take and explore and do whatever it is they want to do. So if they want to build their own dashboards, then they can build their own dashboards, right? If they want to do whatever, if you want to do whatever with the data, you have access to it, as long as you have the privilege or you have the access to access the data. Yeah. So this basically fosters a sense of ownership and allows teams to make data-driven decisions quickly and independently. So an example of this is how our product team can independently access and analyze product performance and customer behavior data, right? This actually reduces reliance on the BI team for basic reporting and allows for faster decision making. So how do we get our users to, we've talked about how we get our users to buy into this data, we've talked about how to democratize access. How do we get them to actually believe in the data that they have access to? So trust, like building trust is basically the foundation of this, and it is paramount to a data-driven culture, right? And we focused on these key areas to build confidence in our data. There's data quality, to prioritize data accuracy and reliability. We have processes in place to actually validate the data that we present to our stakeholders. We try to ensure data consistent across different systems by using like the same data source across different systems. So when something breaks or when something isn't working exactly the way, or basically just trying to ensure uniformity. And we also regularly audit our data sources and perform data quality checks. Another thing is data transparency, right? So we maintain transparency about our data sources, our collection methods, our analysis techniques. Right? There are documents that are basically open to the entire company, right? And everyone has access to this. This is to understand where the data comes from and how it's being used. Another thing is data storytelling, right? So we're not just giving them access to the data, but we're also representing it.
Oh, I think network kicked out. MTN. So, while she's trying to join back, if you have
Okay,
any
can
questions?
everyone hear me?
Yes, welcome back.
All right, thank you. Yeah, actually, it's MTN. Okay. So I hope you can still see my screen. I was talking about storytelling and basically using intuitive visualizations to bring data to
Your
life,
screen is off.
to make it more.
Your screen is
You
off.
can't
You
see my
can't see
screen
it.
anymore.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Let me come back to sharing. Okay. I hope you can see it now. I think it's coming up.
I see. Yeah, good now.
Okay. So one way that we try to build trust by data storytelling is how we illustrate the performance of our build products, right? So we created a data story. This is just one example. We created a data story in form of a looker dashboard, which is basically a compilation of tiles that showcase every KPI that is relevant to our build products. And basically this narrative is supported by clear visuals. It effectively communicates the product success and builds trust in the data used to measure the impact of the product. So people can see, from top to bottom, how is this product doing, right? So we move on now to effectively communicating your data, right? It is actually very crucial for a data-driven culture to thrive. And there are three ways, or the three most important ways we do this is by understanding our audience, right? So we tailor our communication style and level of detail to the specific audience. So remember I said that you have people that are technical, you have those that are not very technical, right? And those that are always on the go, that are always on their feet. You don't want to overwhelm them with a lot of information, right? We segment our customer base, right? They are actually our customers into these different buckets, and we present our data to them in these different ways. So for example, for executives, we focus on high level trends and key performance indicators. For managers, we provide like more granular data to support the operational decision making. Basically, for technical teams, we delve into specifics of data analysis and modeling. We also use visualizations, and like I mentioned earlier, I know that we all love a good Power BI dashboard, we all love a fancy Tableau dashboard, but when you're sitting in the real world, when you have customers to impress, you have investors to impress, you want to get straight to the point, right? And so we use charts and graphs and dashboards to present the data in a clear and engaging way. Sometimes you can opt for the fancy stuff, maybe when we want to create like a deck, a town hall deck, but otherwise, like for day-to-day activities, we choose the most appropriate visualization. And then there's also the matter of data storytelling, which I already mentioned. So we try to craft narratives around that data to make it more relatable and memorable. So just to highlight what I said about data visualizations being simple and clear, right? while we understand like the appeal in data visualization, we still opt for the simplest visuals when presenting the business with data. Using a combination of line charts to show trends over time, like a simple line charts, bar charts to compare categories, and compelling narratives to explain the factors contributing to effects and potential solutions, right? So at the end of the day, it's about getting information across in a simple way. So I think this is the last thing, and this is just understanding the importance of measuring the impacts of your data-driven culture, right? So at the end of the day, you've done all these wonderful things that you have to do. How do you know that people are actually buying into your data? How do you know it's being used? How do you know it's making the impact you want it to make? At Kuda, we track key metrics and use a combination of tools to assess our progress. So this is us now measuring our own performance as a data team, right? We identify the KPIs that align with our business goals and reflect the impact of data-driven decision making. So metrics like customer satisfaction, operational efficiency, reports adoption rates, and all of these things like usage rates. Even we have our own, I don't know if you're familiar with the term CSAT score, but we have things like that to measure our own progress and our own impact as a team. It's actually very important, right? Because at the end of the day, you're trying to get people to make data-driven decisions when you don't even know how the data that you are analyzing and presenting is being used and the impact that it has. We also use a variety of tools to track and analyze these KPIs. So we use Google Analytics, we use Tag Manager and other internal BI platforms. And these tools just help us to provide insights into user behavior and report utilization, among others. And lastly, continuous improvement, right? So we regularly review our data and analyze our progress towards our own goals, right? We have, so one thing my manager and myself have adopted is doing like these CIP plans, right, on our data models and our data visualizations twice a year. So that's actually really worked for us, right? So we use these insights to identify areas where we can improve, where we can communicate better, and where we can make better decision making frameworks. Yeah. So as I have come to the end of my my wonderful speech today, I hope that you have learned like one thing, two things, three things, whatever it is, just basically understanding like the core concept of data-driven culture, and how to implement it, the things to look out for when you are going after one, right? So just like going over the key takeaways from today's session, just in case maybe you were sleeping and you didn't get to jot down anything. A data-driven culture is essential for success in today's business. Building a data-driven culture requires leadership buy-in, data literacy, data accessibility, effective communication, and ongoing measurements, right? And Kuda experience demonstrates that a data-driven culture can drive significant improvements in customer experience, financial inclusion, and overall business performance. So I will just, say again that no matter how small your team is, even if you're a one-man team, start building your own data-driven culture today, right? Invest in data literacy, empower yourself, your employees with data access, and foster a culture of data-informed decision making. It is very important. So yeah, if you have any questions, I don't know. Think I did.
Yeah, we do. Let's give it up now. Why are you guys like this? Let's share up. I mean, amazing session, right? So I think the first question is I'm checking through the charts. Abdulaziz, if you are here, I think you can just unmute yourself and ask your question directly. I'm trying to look through the chat, but I mean the chat is swamped with lots of things. So Abdulaziz, are you here? I'm not sure. But the first question that I have is somebody asked that does Kuda take intake because it's like we have plenty that wants to get in now.
Yeah, we do, but not at the moment, actually, unfortunately. But I mean, I think that there are different communities and different platforms that you can just be on the lookout when we are in the process of hiring again.
Oh, okay, great. So a question from Adewale Abdulgafar. In giving the best to the audience, how do you blend standard with the simplicity in the charts?
Okay. Standard with simplicity. I think that one way you can do this is documenting what you want to see and what your users want to see, and then blending these things together and just visualizing them, or basically putting them out in like the best or the simplest output that you can think of, right? So what works for you and what works for your users, most importantly, and just documenting like the things that needs to be visualized. So one thing I do is before I embark on a project, I try to, put heads together with my team members. Okay, what are the KPIs that need to be tracked for this particular dashboard or for this particular data model, whatever the case might be, right? We put ours down, and then we of course go to the users and we get theirs, and then we put everything together, and we look out for, okay, maybe we do like a draft of how this is going to be visualized or what output is going to come in, and we just go for these things, right? So we get approval from our stakeholders, and yeah, that's basically how to do it. So you're not, at the end of the day, you're not just working for yourself, you're not just creating things for yourself, you're creating for people. And if the people that you're creating for have said, okay, yeah, this approach that you want to take is best, then of course you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question from Shola Bomi. Sorry, I don't want to murder your name, so I'm just going to take only that first part. What advice would you give someone with a non-tech background trying to implement a data-driven approach to their work?
Okay. So first of all, you want to understand what or how data is going to influence your decisions, or whatever it is you want to do with it, right? So maybe you're a small business owner, right? And you have customers, you have like a lot of customers, right? And you're happy with the way your business is going, but you're not, at the end of the day, you don't know your customers, like you don't know what season they come in, or you don't know if like they are churning or things like that, right? So okay, I have this customer base, but I don't even know my customers. So I start from collecting data, right? And then from collecting data, you look at, okay, I have this data, what can I use? What can I do with this data? I have my customers' phone numbers, I have their email addresses, I have, their names, and I have like the service or the products that they buy often, right? So going from things like that, okay, what can I do with the products or the services that they buy often? Okay, when was the last time this customer visited me, right? Things like that would help you know what direction to take with the data that you have. So basically, you just start from trying to think about what's important data has to you, to your business, to your work, and then you go on to like the process of collecting the data and then trying to make sense of what you have with your data. And there are always like resources that you can look out for on the internet to help you just kind of like personalize your own approach, because it's not a one size fits all thing.
Okay, great. From Toby Akeredelu, he said, can you recommend any literacy training for his organization? I think he's a founder or co-founder.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So I think depending on the tools that you have, so your tech stack, you can if you maybe pay for support for the different like technologies that you use, then you can reach out to the support teams. For Google BigQuery, for instance, I work with that. So, there is cloud skills for Google BigQuery. There's cloud skills boost, something called cloud skills boost, where you buy credits and then you can assign like different users to take different courses. Or if you're not like if Google is not part of like your tech stack, Microsoft also has like different training programs that you can sign your employees or your organization up for. Or like I said, the internet is like a great place to find resources for these things. There YouTube courses that you can take. And then if you have like a learning and development department, for example, you can also prompt them to come up with like courses or training programs that the rest of the company can take.
Okay. Thank you so much. So just two more questions and then we'll wrap up this session. From Anna.
Don't wrap it up.
Okay. I will not. Let me just read
I
out
actually want to ask a question. All right.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Is that Femi?
Okay. Yes, please.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Femi, you're muted.
I mean, he was just looking to ask
Okay, yeah, I'm back, please.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead. Okay, I think he's having network issues. So let me read this question from Anna. Okay, what challenge did you face in fostering data-informed decision-making across departments, and how did you overcome resistance to change?
Okay, Hannah, we forced it down their throats, basically. I'm joking. So I think the very first thing I said was leadership buy-in, right? You need to get like the people that others answer to buy into like your data or like your data process, whatever it is that you want to do with your data. I think that one thing, very honestly, one challenge that we faced was getting like the rest of the business to just like actually use the things that we create for them, right? And for lack of a better description, we did advertisements, right? So across different platforms that are being used in the business, right? Notion, Google Docs, and all of these things, right? We try to get people to understand, okay, this can actually help you this can actually help you.
This meeting is being recorded.
Sorry. This can actually help you to make this decision. This can help you to understand these products. This can do whatever it is for you. And some people just little by little they started keying into these things, right? Another way is by actually building, like going ahead to build stuff for them, right? So we identify like our different product lines, and then we create dashboards that track like the key metrics for these different product lines, and then you present these things to them, and some product owners or product managers are like, wow, I didn't know that my product was doing this. And then that way they've simply, just by doing that, they've adopted this approach. Another way that we try to overcome like resistance is giving them access to make sense of the data by themselves, right? Self-serve analytics. So you're not the only one that has the power to the data, but the end users also have power to use the data, to analyze it, to slice and dice through it in whatever way that they want. And yeah, those three things actually did help us to overcome resistance to change.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm back.
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead now.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Femi, I think it would be best if you just drop the question in the chat.
For
So,
the like someone already for the person wants to know if there are internships. Can you hear me, please? Hello?
You keep
I
filtering in and out.
hello. I actually want. Sorry, what did you say?
You keep filtering in and out.
Oh my God.
yeah,
Okay, is
so
it better now? Can you?
I think you should just drop the question in the chat, then I'll help you to like just read it out. So another question from David. We have like just 3 minutes more. Another question from Delvis
Hello.
Emeka. Oh, okay. Another question from Delvis Emeka is it the role of data team to convince the management on data-driven culture, or the management has the greater responsibility in that regard?
I don't know if you just me, but you broke off for a while. But I can see the
Okay.
question. Is it the role of
Okay,
data team to
awesome.
convince management on data-driven culture? The management has greater responsibility in that regard. At the end of the day, if you're trying to look at it from a personal standpoint, right, where you want to be valued, you want to be valued in your company and you want to secure your job, I would say you should. I'd say it is the role of like the data team, right? You don't want them to wake up one day and say, "Oh, this team, they are not doing anything. Oh, yeah, pack your bags and leave." You don't want that, right? So you have to make sure that like people actually value what you're doing. And on the management side, they don't want to fly blindly, right? You have companies that are in existence for 3-4 years and they don't even know what is going on with their customer base. They don't know what is going on in the back end, right? Companies like that are setting up themselves for failure. But at the end of the day, if a business fails, then you as an employee can pack your things and decide to leave. But what impacts would you have made? What impacts would you have made? What value would you have added to a company that's most likely failed because they didn't know what was going on in the back end, right? So there are two sides of it. While the management has like a role to play, you as an individual or your team of actually does have a role to play, especially if you want to add value, if you want to challenge yourself, and if you don't want to lose your job.
Okay. There are tons of questions here, and each question are thought-provoking. Okay, let's look at Oyelaran Paul. Working in a company that isn't data-driven is an Herculean task. What can you advise we can do as the analyst to switch the gear of the company to be data-driven? They know they needed analysts, but they aren't really listening to their ideas or solutions. Just still wanted to do things in their own way. Wow.
Okay, so I'll say one way to go about that is by, building, not waiting for them to steer like the direction of the data team, but actually steering the direction of the data team. So taking initiative, right? You have access to the data, you know what is going on. Okay, how can I make this make sense to the business? Or what interesting insights have I found by exploring or by researching? You take that insight and then you present it to the business. I remember one time our users, during town halls, people will come and say, "Oh, they don't know why this thing is happening." And then what day, I sat down and I had some time on my hands, and I went and I analyzed the data, and I went to the product manager of that particular product line, and I said, "Oh, this is what is happening. Like, this is why you guys are not like seeing the numbers that you want to see." And she was very surprised. And after that, she has made like that particular dashboard her bread and butter. So you don't have to wait for them to come and tell you how the data team should be steered or how the business should be steered. You go out of your own way to build stuff for them, to investigate, to dig deeper into your data sources, draw out something very, very insightful, and they just might become your best friends from that day. I feel like that's one of the easiest ways.
Awesome. So one last question. This is from Joshua. I don't want to murder your surname. With your experience in fintech, what would you say is the key selling points of the industry ahead of others like healthcare, retail, manufacturing, just for us aspiring data professionals can actually go? That is where the money is. Thank you.
I think that's the answer to that is having access to big data, right? Fintech is big data. You have like you're processing millions of data per day, right? You're looking at data that has been stored in different ways. You're looking at messy data. You're looking at different data points, right? That mean different things. Like you have access to like a wealth of data that you can use to make sense of in different ways. Remember, I said that we have a native data team, and the reason why we have this is because we have millions of data to get through, right? We want to have clean data. We want to be able to, build models from this data. We want to be able to train models from this data that we have. We want to be able to create visualizations from this data. This is all because we have a wealth of data to deal with. So I think that's the selling points, basically, like dealing with a wealth of data.
Okay, I'm trying to. Okay, I think that would be all, folks. You can connect with. So, okay, yeah, somebody asked a question about data engineering and data analysis. I'm trying to look for that question, and with that question, we'll be wrapping up this session. Where we start. Some of these questions have been answered from our response to other questions, but somebody asked something about how do you switch from data engineer to data analyst or something. If you are the one, you can unmute yourself and ask that question directly. I've been scrolling and scrolling. I can't find it. And
Okay, thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm the one.
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, yes, I asked that I am a aspiring data analyst and I want to become a data engineer. How can a data analyst switch to a data engineer? That's what I asked.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks for that question, Raji. So as a data analyst, you already have some of the basic tools that you need to become a data engineer, but you just need to be on the lookout for more. So tools like Python, or languages like Python, you need to know how to write Python. You need to know how to use certain data tools, right? So there are courses that you can take that help like this easy transition. So you don't have to start from the ground up anymore, considering you probably already know how to use SQL. And that's actually very important in the role of a data engineer. So just like be on the lookout for platforms that you can use to, easily transition from data analysis to data engineer. And if you're working like in a company that has this like engineering role, then you can also, find like someone that can mentor you or just shadow someone in the team. And, you find that you're picking up bits and pieces of like data engineering. But most importantly, just be on the lookout for like platforms that you can use for this easy transition. Data Camp is one of the platforms that I swear by. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Didamola. This session, it was nothing short of what I was expecting. I really learned a lot, and the questions are thought-provoking, which indicates that people actually learn a lot from this session. Thank you so much. So, if you have any other question, please connect with Didamola on LinkedIn.
I have my question. I hope this time around.
We need to end this session like right now. The other session is waiting already, so you can just.
It's actually break time now.
You said what?
I said it's actually break time now.
It's not break. Break has passed.
Break has passed.
We don't use break. She used break for our class too.
Yeah.
No, because I don't know what really happened. I've been trying to ask that question over and over again, but you know what they say about village people.
No problem.